In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, beyond the grasp of the Galactic Empire, lies a sector where a fragile peace has held for generations. The Empire, vast and untouchable, thrives on the back of countless species, its power structured upon an intricate web of politics and force. The countless alien species that populate the galaxy operate under a constant fear of imperial retribution, knowing that their positions are vulnerable in the face of an unyielding empire. For the most part, the Empire maintains a relatively stable peace through diplomacy and strategic alliances. Yet there are also those who challenge the Empire's supremacy, groups of rogue factions that dare to disturb the Empire's meticulously crafted order. Humanity, long considered an insignificant and primitive species by the galactic powers, has only recently begun to gain a foothold among the Empire's political sphere. Humans, though technologically young compared to the ancient species of the galaxy, had begun to make their mark through strategic diplomacy. Most imperial leaders dismissed the human race, viewing them as nothing more than pawns on the galactic chessboard, useful only for simple negotiations and menial tasks. They were not to be feared, nor respected. In their minds, humanity was an almost laughable addition to the great game. The station where Marcus Ashford is stationed sits near the core of this imperial sector. From the outside, it appears to be little more than an ordinary diplomatic outpost, one of many scattered throughout the Empire's domain. Yet, it is a nexus of political activity, where the fate of thousands of planets is decided in backroom deals and delicate negotiations. The galaxy's top leaders converge here, often for one purpose: to keep the peace. Marcus Ashford, the human diplomat assigned to this station, is an enigma. To the alien diplomats, he is the epitome of politeness, charm, and diplomacy. His perfectly tailored suits, his warm but measured smile, and his razor-sharp negotiation skills have made him an invaluable asset to human efforts in the galaxy. When he speaks, the room listens. He has made numerous successful treaties with far more advanced species, convincing them to see humans not as primitive creatures but as equals. Yet those who know him well enough, if any such individuals exist, know that beneath his diplomatic exterior lies a man who is far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Marcus was not always a diplomat. Before he donned the suit and tie of political negotiations, he was a ruthless operative trained in the art of assassination. In a covert program back on Earth, he had been molded into one of the deadliest assassins in the galaxy. His previous work had seen him eliminate targets across countless systems, his missions so discreet and precise that only a handful of people ever knew the true extent of his expertise. He had been recruited by Earth's secret intelligence agency to eliminate threats to the planet's security, operating in the shadows to keep the peace. Now, years after the end of his official career as a hitman, he uses his unmatched skill set in the realm of diplomacy. No one, least of all the Galactic Empire, knows the true nature of Marcus Ashford. They only see a well-dressed diplomat with a polished reputation, a man who would never deign to get his hands dirty. And that is exactly what makes him so dangerous. Marcus is a man who can slip through the cracks of any political system, who can manipulate and control situations with a mind as sharp as any blade. While others negotiate with words and gestures, Marcus negotiates with subtlety, with threats veiled behind honeyed speeches and calculated moves. He knows how to bend people to his will, how to force their compliance without ever showing his true hand. The Empire, for all its might, has grown complacent with the humans in their midst. They've long viewed them as an inconvenience, a minor player in the political theater. They have learned to tolerate the humans, perhaps even respect them on a superficial level, but they have never seen the full scope of what humanity can achieve when pushed to its limit. This is what Marcus Ashford knows. He is more than a mere diplomat. He is an agent of Earth's intelligence, a man capable of swaying the tides of galactic politics. And he is ready to use every weapon at his disposal, from the subtle art of diplomacy to the deadly precision of his training, to secure the future of humanity. The situation becomes even more complicated when the Empire's emissaries arrive on the station to negotiate a peace treaty. On the surface, it is an ordinary diplomatic mission, a standard affair designed to ensure that the Empire can maintain control over a rogue faction that threatens the stability of the region. But there is more beneath the surface. The Empire's true intent is to eliminate the threat posed by the rogue faction, and they believe the human diplomat, Marcus Ashford, is the perfect target. The Empire has no idea that Marcus is not simply a diplomat. They do not know that he is already working against them, his own mission running parallel to theirs. The negotiations are nothing more than a cover for his real work, to eliminate an Imperial officer who has long been responsible for unspeakable acts of cruelty throughout the galaxy. Marcus has been hired by a shadowy third-party organization to bring down this officer, an act of vengeance that will forever alter the balance of power within the Empire. As the peace talks unfold, the Imperial delegates grow increasingly suspicious of Marcus. They see in him something more than just a negotiator, something unsettling that they can't quite place. The Empire is a paranoid system, and they don't take kindly to being outplayed, especially by a species they view as beneath them. The peace talks, though officially a simple matter of diplomacy, become a dangerous game of cat and mouse, where both sides struggle to maintain control of a situation that has begun to spiral out of their hands. Marcus, always the calm, collected diplomat on the surface, is prepared for what is to come. He knows the Empire has sent their best operatives to eliminate him, believing him to be a threat to their plans. Yet they are blind to the fact that Marcus Ashford is more than capable of defending himself, and he has no intention of being eliminated. In fact, he is the one who will deal the fatal blow, but only when the time is right. The stage is set. The players are in position. And the game of diplomacy is about to become a deadly battle of wits. Marcus Ashford, diplomat by day, hitman by night, is ready to show the galaxy exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed too far. The Galactic Empire, so certain of its superiority, has made one fatal mistake: they underestimated the human diplomat. And now, they will learn just how dangerous a man can be when he is not what he seems. Marcus Ashford had long grown accustomed to the game that was being played. The diplomatic negotiations were never about peace, they were about power, influence, and control. His role, while ostensibly that of a mere human mediator, had always been far more complicated. His true purpose was not to engage in simple discussions, but to read the room, understand the hidden motivations of each party, and make his move when the time was right. For years, the Empire had sent him as a token, a seemingly harmless figurehead, to represent humanity in various diplomatic missions. They underestimated him, an advantage Marcus had long taken advantage of. What they didn't know was that he wasn't there to smooth over tensions. He was there to set the stage for the inevitable unraveling of those tensions, using his skills as a former hitman to eliminate threats when necessary. He wasn't a diplomat at all. He was a weapon, a walking, talking assassin, operating under the guise of peace. He had once been one of Earth's deadliest covert operatives, trained in every form of warfare, from traditional combat to the subtleties of psychological manipulation. And now, as the Imperial delegation arrived for what was supposed to be another simple negotiation, Marcus sensed something had shifted in the air. The Empire had always been wary of humanity's growing influence, but today felt different. He had spent the last few weeks scrutinizing every detail of the upcoming peace talks, examining not only the official objectives but also the power dynamics at play. The Empire's representatives were here for more than just a treaty. There was a hidden agenda, one that Marcus could feel with every nerve in his body. The Empire's interest in this particular negotiation was fueled by their desire to eliminate a rogue faction that had risen within their ranks. A group of high-ranking Imperial officers had defected and formed their own splinter group, causing unrest in several key sectors. These traitors had begun to make waves in the outer colonies, challenging the Empire's control and threatening to destabilize the entire region. The Empire needed a way to remove them, and Marcus was the perfect target. Not because of his diplomatic connections, but because of the information he had come to possess about the rogue faction. His involvement was seen as a threat to the Empire's covert operation. In their minds, the best way to handle him was to eliminate him before he could turn the tables. Unknown to Marcus, the Imperial delegates had planned a carefully orchestrated attack, one meant to catch him off guard. He was to be framed as a traitor, a tool used by the rogue faction to bring down the Empire from within. The Empire's agents had infiltrated his inner circle, planting false evidence to create the illusion of treason. His position as a diplomat had made him a perfect scapegoat. No one suspected the human, whom they considered weak and easily manipulated. The attack came swiftly, without warning. An assassination attempt on his life was staged, orchestrated with precision. Marcus had seen it coming, of course. His instincts were sharp, honed through years of operating in the shadows. As the attack unfolded, he didn't panic. He'd been through worse before. Instead, he reacted with the cold, calculating efficiency that had made him a legend among Earth's covert operatives. The assailants were well trained, but they were not prepared for the chaos Marcus would unleash in response. He took down the first wave with a series of rapid, calculated movements. He didn't waste time. There was no need for heroics, just a swift, lethal response to the immediate threat. But as the first few attackers fell, Marcus realized something far more dangerous was unfolding around him. The assassination attempt wasn't random, it was a calculated move to set him up. The Empire didn't just want him dead, they wanted him discredited, ruined in the eyes of the galaxy. The trap was expertly laid. The agents sent to kill him weren't just assassins, they were spies, planted within the station to frame Marcus for a crime he didn't commit. A fake message had already been sent to the Empire's higher-ups, implicating him in a conspiracy to sabotage the peace talks and assassinate Imperial officials. The evidence was carefully fabricated, crafted to make Marcus look like a double agent working for the rogue faction. He was already being labeled a traitor, and the narrative would be impossible to undo. By the time the dust settled, the Empire would have its justification for dealing with him once and for all. But Marcus wasn't just a diplomat. He wasn't going to let the Empire's carefully laid plans come to fruition. With his training kicking in, he immediately took control of the situation. He moved quickly, cutting through the web of deception that had been spun around him. The assassination attempt was only the beginning. Marcus knew that if he was going to survive, he had to dismantle the entire operation from within. His first move was to regain control of his personal security. The assassins had breached his quarters and were now scrambling to secure their positions, unaware that the tables had already begun to turn. Marcus had anticipated this, the attack was always going to be the opening move in a larger, more intricate game. He quickly accessed his private communications channel, sending a coded message to his most trusted allies on the station. It wasn't much, but it was enough to let them know that something had gone terribly wrong. While the Empire's agents thought they were cornering him, Marcus was already flipping the script. He wasn't just a victim of their plot, he was the one pulling the strings. They had underestimated him, but he had no intention of making it easy for them. Marcus wasn't just surviving the assassination attempt, he was going to make the Empire regret the day they ever tried to eliminate him. The first sign that something was wrong came in the form of an encrypted message. Marcus received it in the dead of night, as the station drifted silently through space. It was from an anonymous source, an informant within the Empire itself. The message was brief but clear, *, they're coming for you. The Empire knows who you really are. *. Marcus immediately went on high alert. The Empire had long suspected his true identity, but this was different. He had always been a ghost, a shadow, slipping in and out of galactic politics with no trace. Now, someone within the Imperial ranks had connected the dots. The peace treaty he had been working on wasn't a diplomatic mission. It was an assassination plot, one aimed at eliminating him before he could expose the Empire's corruption. It didn't take long for the first attack to come. A seemingly routine delegation of Imperial officers arrived, but Marcus could sense their hostility from the moment they stepped onto the station. They weren't here for peace talks. They weren't even here to discuss the terms of the treaty. They were here to kill him. The attack was swift and precise. A sudden, coordinated strike on the diplomatic wing of the station caught everyone by surprise. Explosions rocked the hallways, and armed soldiers poured in, weapons drawn. It was clear they had been planning this for some time, the precision of their assault suggesting intimate knowledge of the station's layout. But what the Empire hadn't counted on was Marcus Ashford himself. In the chaos that followed, Marcus moved like a predator in the shadows, his training as a hitman kicking in. He had spent years cultivating the perfect facade of the harmless diplomat. Now, in the blink of an eye, he shed that identity and became the operative he had once been. His movements were silent and lethal, honed through years of covert missions. The attackers, unaware that the diplomat they sought to eliminate was anything but harmless, found themselves caught in a game they didn't understand. Marcus quickly assessed the situation. The Empire's soldiers were skilled, but they were trained for traditional warfare, not the kind of guerrilla tactics he employed. As they stormed the corridors, Marcus used his knowledge of the station's architecture to his advantage. A series of well-placed traps and distractions put the attackers on the defensive. A few were dispatched silently, their bodies left in inconspicuous places, where their colleagues would find them just a moment too late. In the midst of this, Marcus received a second message, this time from the same anonymous source within the Empire. The message contained vital information. The officer leading the strike is Colonel Vance, a former member of your assassination team. He's been sent to ensure your elimination. Do not underestimate him. Marcus paused, a rare flicker of recognition passing through his mind. Vance. He remembered the man well, a brutal and effective soldier, trained in the same dark arts as Marcus. They had worked together once, long before Marcus assumed his role as a diplomat. But Vance had always been more ruthless, more willing to follow orders without question. The thought that Vance was now after him added a personal stake to the already dangerous mission. The game had changed. Marcus wasn't just fighting for his life, he was now battling against a former ally. Someone who knew his tactics, his weaknesses. Vance wasn't just another cog in the Empire's machine. He was a mirror of Marcus's former self, and the stakes of this battle were higher than ever before. But Marcus wasn't alone. He had allies, hidden in the shadows. Human operatives scattered across the Empire had long been aware of the situation and had secretly aided Marcus throughout his time as a diplomat. They provided him with resources, safe houses, and intelligence. It was a secret network, designed to protect humanity's interests in the heart of the Empire's territory. Now, it was time for Marcus to call in favors. Within hours, he had managed to turn the tables. The Empire's forces were no longer the hunters, they were the hunted. Using his network, Marcus began to outmaneuver the strike team, exploiting their lack of knowledge about the station's hidden compartments and secret passageways. Slowly, but surely, the Imperial forces were whittled down. But it was only a matter of time before Marcus would come face to face with Vance. He knew that the final confrontation would be inevitable. The station was large, but it was non-infinite. And while Marcus was skilled in stealth and psychological manipulation, Vance was equally trained in combat. The two would meet, and only one would walk away. As Marcus prepared for the final confrontation, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire's plot ran deeper than just eliminating him. There was something more to this mission, something far more dangerous than even he had anticipated. The assassination was a smokescreen, a diversion to mask a larger power play within the Empire itself. This mission had never been about peace talks or rogue factions. It was about consolidating power and wiping out those who stood in the way of the Emperor's vision. With the Empire now focused on his elimination, Marcus realized that this fight was more than a simple matter of survival. It was a battle for the future of the galaxy. And if he didn't succeed, the consequences would be far-reaching. Humanity's role in the galaxy would be forever cemented as pawns in a game they didn't even understand. The clock was ticking, and Marcus knew he had only one chance to stop the Imperial forces before it was too late. The final confrontation with Vance was fast approaching, and with it, the truth about who was truly pulling the strings behind the scenes. Marcus moved through the chaos with a deadly calm, his senses sharpened to their limits. The Imperial soldiers, confident in their superiority, had underestimated the very person they came to kill. He had spent years in their midst, playing the role of the unsuspecting diplomat, and now the tables had turned. Each movement he made was calculated, every strike deliberate, his mind a cold machine of lethal precision. The first few soldiers fell before they even realized what was happening, their weapons useless in the face of someone who had spent his life perfecting the art of silent, efficient death. But Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would send more. They would always send more. And so he worked quickly, taking down key targets, neutralizing threats, but never lingering too long in one place. He needed to buy time. Time for what? He wasn't entirely sure yet. He knew he had been set up, but he couldn't yet determine by whom or why. One thing was clear, though: the Empire had more to lose by killing him than they realized. As he advanced deeper into the station's lower levels, Marcus began to piece together the bigger picture. He had been targeted not because of his diplomatic ties, but because of his past, because of the things he had done. The Empire's desire to eliminate him wasn't just about a rogue faction or political maneuvering. It was about secrets. Secrets that could bring the Empire to its knees. The deeper he ventured, the more he realized that this was not an isolated strike. This was part of something much larger. As he hacked into the station's security systems, bypassing Imperial encryption protocols, Marcus uncovered damning evidence. The Empire had been running covert operations across multiple sectors, and the rogue faction they had accused of treason was only a small part of a much darker plan. The Empire was orchestrating wars, manipulating economies, and wiping out entire populations, decisions made from the top, concealed under layers of bureaucracy and deceit. It wasn't just about the assassination anymore. It was about preventing a rebellion, a revolt that could shake the Empire to its very core. And Marcus, unknowingly, had become the key to exposing it all. As the reality of his situation settled in, a dangerous thought occurred to him: what if he had been set up for a reason other than death? What if the Empire wanted him to uncover these truths? They had sent him here, knowing he would find something, knowing he would be drawn into this web of corruption. Perhaps this was all part of a larger game, and Marcus was nothing more than a pawn, a piece to be sacrificed in a much larger scheme. He had been trained to see the patterns, to read between the lines, but now the lines had blurred. Was he the hero or the villain in this narrative? The realization hit him hard. He was being manipulated, but he wasn't going down without a fight. If the Empire thought they could eliminate him without consequence, they were gravely mistaken. He would burn their empire to the ground if necessary. But first, he needed to survive. He needed to escape the station with the information he had uncovered. With the Empire's secret plans now in his possession, he held all the cards. And he wasn't about to let them slip away. The next few hours were a blur of firefights, evasion, and strategic strikes. Marcus fought his way through the station's labyrinthine corridors, always one step ahead of the Imperial soldiers closing in on him. His former life as an assassin was fully awakened, and it was in these moments that Marcus felt the weight of his past and his true purpose come alive. He was not just a diplomat, not just a pawn in the game of politics, he was a weapon, and he had been set loose. As the station's atmosphere began to deteriorate, with the central hub locked down and alarms blaring across every level, Marcus knew the time was running out. He had to make his move. His escape wasn't just a matter of surviving the attack, it was a matter of ensuring the truth he had uncovered reached the galaxy. He couldn't trust anyone within the Empire. Not anymore. Using the chaos to his advantage, Marcus initiated a final, desperate move to escape the station. He had access to the Empire's communication network and sent a single encrypted message to the only person he could trust, the head of the human resistance. It was brief, yet full of enough information to incite a full-scale rebellion. The Empire is corrupt. Expose it. The truth is hidden in the files. With the message sent, Marcus made his final dash for the escape pods, knowing that the Empire would come for him with everything they had. But he didn't care. The message was out, and soon, the galaxy would know the truth. The Empire's carefully constructed facade would crumble, and humanity, once thought to be a mere pawn, would rise to take its place. As the escape pod launched into the cold, dark expanse of space, Marcus leaned back, taking one last look at the station he had spent so long in. The Empire had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated him, as they had underestimated humanity for centuries. But now, Marcus had become something more than a diplomat, more than an assassin. He was the spark that would ignite a revolution, and there was no going back. The Empire thought they had eliminated their biggest threat. They had no idea that Marcus Ashford was only the beginning.